Welcome, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and we enter the new millennium with Godzilla 2000. Back in 1995, Toho decided it was time to kill off their title monster by having him go nuclear. Godzilla's adversary was a monster named Destroya, who was a prehistoric crustacean mutated by Dr. Serizawa's oxygen destroyer. In the end, the military had defeated the creature as Godzilla was about to melt down. However, in the original plans, Godzilla was going to be the one to kill Destroya when Toho decided it would take away from his death. Regardless, Godzilla's death was so publicized that news broke out about it all across the world, and Toho even held a funeral for him. Then, in 1998, Sony released what was supposed to be the start of a new Godzilla franchise. Regrettably, Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich knew how to make a Godzilla movie about as much as Irving Kershner knew how to make a Bond film.
Give me a shock.
This embarrassment forced Toho to immediately begin production on a new Godzilla movie, one which they titled Godzilla 2000 Millennium. Takao Okawara returned to direct for the final time while a new special effects supervisor was hired, Kenji Suzuki. Space Godzilla's Takayuki Hattori returned with yet another lackluster score, which was enhanced in the English release thanks to J. Peter Robinson. So is Godzilla 2000 a return to form, or just a hastily assembled mess? We begin the movie with being introduced to members of the Godzilla Prediction Network, or GPN. Basically, think of GPN as a bunch of storm chasers, but for Godzilla instead of tornadoes. We meet Yuji Shinoda, his daughter Io, and a journalist named Yuki Ichinose. They are played by Takahiro Murata, Maya Suzuki, and Naomi Nishida. From here they start following Godzilla around, trying to study his movements as he tramples through a village. I do have to say that I love these shots here. Just watching Godzilla stand in the middle of the city as the lights go out is pretty awesome. The same goes for this shot where Shinoda's car is following Godzilla. I also want to point out that the miniatures here are already superior to those present in the last several movies. The movie then introduces Professor Shiro Miyasaka, played by Shiro Sano, and Mitsuo Katagiri, played by Hiroshi Abe. Miyasaka used to be a colleague of Shinoda until he joined up with the CCI when Katagiri became the head of it. While Shinoda wants to study Godzilla, Katagiri wants the beast dead. Yuki's pictures from the previous night's events were ruined from how close and personal they got with Godzilla, so her boss tells her to stay with the GPN until she can provide quality images. As such, she has no choice but to join Shinoda's network. In the meantime, the CCI had found a strange meteorite beneath the sea, and when they try to bring it up to the surface, it moves itself. It also appears as if the strange rock is moving with the rotation of the sun. Godzilla is spotted and both the GPN and CCI prepare for his arrival. A new type of missile is revealed that is supposed to be able to go through Godzilla like crap through a goose. I'm not kidding. That's actually what they say in the English dub.
I guarantee it'll go through Godzilla like crap through a goose.
Godzilla finally emerges from the sea and is attacked by the military immediately upon surfacing. Like I said before, depending on which version you watch, there will be differences in music and effects. Just listen to some of the music from this scene between both versions. Oh yeah. And get a load of the really bad CGI. Ew. As the battle with Godzilla wages on, the rocky island by Miyasaka suddenly takes flight and heads to the battlefront. There, it attacks Godzilla.
Special beam cannon, fire!
The rock's cannons knock Godzilla away, who disappears while it crashes into the sea. Miyasaka and Katagiri come to realize it's actually a spaceship that crashed on Earth millions of years ago, when there was no sunlight to keep it alive. Shinoda collects some Godzilla cells and requests the use of CCI's lab in order to study them. Both he and Miyasaka come to realize the cells are able to regenerate in mere seconds, and depending on the version you watch, they either name it the Organizer G1 or Regenerator G1. Now, I'm not sure why they felt it necessary to change its name, but I guess Regenerator does sound better because of what its ability is. The UFO takes flight once more when the sun comes out and hovers above the city tower, which just happens to be the building where Yuki works. Yuki finds that her laptop is being hacked into and sneaks back into the tower to investigate. The CCI does the same, as they too find their network being hacked, and upon further study, they find it is being caused by the UFO as it is searching through Japan's databases for information on Godzilla. The military plans to blow up City Tower to stop the hack, while Shinoda gets a call from Yuki from within the tower. Shinoda goes to rescue her, and then he himself decides to continue her work while sending both Yuki and Io away. Now, the Japanese version here does have what I do think is a pretty cool scene. It doesn't add anything to the movie's plot, so I can definitely see why Sony cut it out, but I just love the way it is shot. Time runs out and Katagiri detonates the bombs, which do no damage to the UFO. The UFO retaliates Independence Day style.
When's it gonna do something? Yeah, we've been waiting all day!
Shinoda manages to escape death, and they return to CCI headquarters, where Miyasaka is pleased to see him alive. He reports his discovery that the thing in the UFO does not have an identity of its own, so it wants to take on the form of Godzilla. This thing kind of reminds me of a monster from another movie. I just can't place its name. Godzilla surfaces once more and heads straight for the UFO. They briefly battle each other here until Godzilla is knocked down and a creature starts to form below the ship with CGI that makes Ivan Ooze's transformation look impressive. The CGI monster continues to mutate until it forms a new creature, one named Orga. Now this is where things get a little bit weird with the name changing. See, Orga was named after Organizer G1. However, in the English version, it's Regenerator G1, so it doesn't really make as much sense. Shouldn't Toho change his name then to Riga in English? Another distinct difference between the two versions of the movie is Orga's roar and the music used for the fight here. Anyway, soon the UFO is destroyed and Orga is injured. For some reason, Godzilla lets Orga swallow him, and he blows up the mimicking menace from within. Godzilla then approaches the CCI building and only kills Katagiri, leaving everyone else unharmed.
Godzilla!
Let's watch that again. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. The rest of the cast has a talk about how Godzilla is a part of mankind since we created him, and he starts to set the town aflame.
Why does he keep protecting us?
That was Godzilla 2000. So what do I think of it? Well, I actually think it is a breath of fresh air in the Godzilla franchise. It isn't perfect by any means, but it is a fun movie with really well-written characters, a lovable human antagonist, and it does something new with the alien invasion plot. The enjoyment of the movie itself does depend on which version you watch. I feel like the Japanese version just stalls for about 15 minutes, right around the time when the UFO takes over the city tower, whereas the English version feels better paced. However, there are still some issues I have with that version, as the blatant dialogue changes are kind of annoying, but unlike other theatrical English versions, the overall plot is the same. I absolutely love the chemistry between all of the main characters here because they all work so well off one another. Katagiri is an A1 asshole, but he is doing what he feels is best for Japan. His job is to get rid of Godzilla, and he is going to do it regardless of who dies in the process.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Shinoda and Io also add a new feel to the franchise with their father-daughter aspect. Both can work independently from one another, but they need each other in order to survive. I love that Io was not written to be just another annoying child that needs to be saved by some stupid means. That job goes to Yuki, but she doesn't need saving for sheer stupidity. She is just trying to figure out what the aliens want. She probably could have been fine had Shinoda not come to rescue her, but her bravery led to their discovery of what the UFO was doing. Granted, it ultimately was meaningless since it added nothing to the plot, but she does it in such a way that it works. Finally, there's Miyasaka, who is also great. You can tell he is truly torn between his duty to protect Japan and being Shinoda's friend. He is very loyal to both parties, which does help him stand out from just being another scientist. The miniatures are downright phenomenal here. As I previously said, these are the best miniatures in years. They look realistic, as if people just fled from their homes in fears. You can clearly see furniture in a few of the windows. The streets are filled with cars, and the rubble on the ground when Godzilla battles Orga is impressive. It is worth noting that the monsters have been scaled back down to the 50-meter range, and it is only for the better. I love a lot of the camera angles as well. Sadly though, not everything is great, as the CGI is horrible, especially for the swimming Godzilla. Also, most of the green screen shots are pretty awful looking too. They look like something I could do if I were to have a green screen. Just like the music, there is a variation in sound effects between the two versions, especially with the UFO. Both the sound effects and music are just vastly superior in the English version, and from what I have read, even Toho feels the same. So much so that they shelved their own international dub and have shown the Sony one around the world, even in their own theaters. It is a shame that Hattori is so inept scoring a Godzilla movie that someone else had to improve upon his own score. That is not to say I hate his Godzilla theme, as I do enjoy it, but the man clearly has no idea what a Godzilla movie is supposed to sound like. Finally, we come to the monster designs. As you can clearly see, this Godzilla suit is vastly different from what we have seen in the past, and I love it. I don't think the suit is perfect, as the head is a little too big, and even though purple is my favorite color, I don't like it on the spines. I'm also not that fond of the green color used here. I do love the face itself though, especially the fangs, and I like the more reptilian hunched over look as it is reminiscent of the 62 suit. It is also nice to see him a bit thinner again and without all the fat in the thighs. Orga's design is mixed. I love that while he is bigger than Godzilla, he can actually move. It is just unfortunate that his battle with Godzilla is unimpressive. I'm so glad that the battle was more melee with only a touch of fireworks, but it still could have been better. However, I am just nitpicking there. I do get a Biollante feel from him though, especially when Godzilla sticks his head in his mouth. Lastly, I do like how his upper half resembles the UFO in all of its nasally glory. The UFO itself is fine for what it is. It isn't anything special, and sometimes the CGI shine to it looks great, other times it looks kind of bad, but whatever. It does its job and it does it effectively. I also love the shot of it above the city tower in the red sky, even though that scene is clearly ripping off the Gyo sitting in Tokyo Tower from Gamera Guardian of the Universe. In the end, Godzilla 2000 is a great start to the Millennium series. The fact that it is in its own continuity is a great starting point for anyone new to the Godzilla series, as they don't have to have any prior knowledge to the series. On the other hand, if you do like continuity, then you could always think of it as an adult junior, I guess. But it is nonetheless the best movie released in the 90s. Well, that is all the time I have for. It is time to put this alien invasion plot to rest as we delve into a new interdimensional dragonfly in Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Bye.